Hello, everybody. Welcome to the What's Up podcast. My name is William Wang. I'm currently a second-year student attending UCR. In my free time, I also enjoy making YouTube videos. Today, we're joined by our co-host, Luis.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Luis Huerta. I'm a third-year political science major, and I'm extremely excited to finally start this podcast alongside Will Wang, one of the co-hosts for this podcast, the What's Up podcast. So again, the purpose of this podcast essentially is just more so create a platform for students on campus and more so share the vision that we have for UCR through the eyes of both myself and Will Wang. So this is going to be a podcast that is UCR-centric, so hopefully we can have some notable figures on the podcast and give y'all, the UCR students, and any other college students or viewers that are going to be streaming on to this podcast and give y'all some insight as to how we go about our lives here at UCR. But first things first, the first topic that we have scheduled for this podcast is the elephant in the room, the COVID-19 virus. So one of the things that, we kind of want to discuss is more so how the COVID-19 has affected our lives as college students, specifically UCR students. But one of the guiding questions first is, how did you first realize that this was a serious thing?
To be frank with you, I think one of the best ways to see if there's a big issue happening is looking at big money making industries, right? Yeah. To me personally, I feel like when I found out it was a big issue was when the NBA got shut down. Mm-hmm. Once the NBA got shut down, I knew it was something big. And also, I got some relatives in Taiwan as well, which is the Asia countries, and I know how bad it was. But I did not expect to get the situation to be this bad, considering that I thought America was going to be able to contain the virus a lot better.
Really? I would say, dude, for me, so for some folks that may not be familiar with who we are personally, I'm an RA here at UCR. So I would say for me, when I realized that this was a serious thing was probably around week 10. They had sent out, and they being campus admin, they had sent out a white email, campus white email, and they kind of just notified us hey, campus is going to be closed. So I think for me, when I received that email, I was kind of caught off guard, oh shoot, this is actually serious. Because for those that go to UCR that are watching, everyone at the gym, which is a place I would visit frequently, everyone would have masks. And at first I was like, why is everyone wearing masks? Is it really a big thing? Because the COVID-19 thing, it got massive media coverage on every platform. You would hear about this on Twitter, Instagram, everything. So I would say for me, someone that wasn't directly affected by this, let's say a month or two ago, my initial thoughts were why is everyone freaking out, right? This hasn't hit hasn't hit us directly. So I would say for me it was week 10, again the week before finals, that everything kind of hit me oh shoot, this is actually serious, and we should actually take it seriously.
Dude, I think it was crazy when everybody started moving out the ASUCR office. Less and less people started showing up, and I think the big moment that hit me really hard was when they decided to shut down the gym. Out of nowhere too, especially I remember I asked them before the weekend. They shut down Monday, and I asked them, "Hey, is the gym closing?" And they were like, "Nah, we don't have a notice at all." And next thing you know, Sunday they were like, "Yeah, we're closing on Monday," and that was pretty insane to me. I'm not gonna lie, it's just a short notice for everything.
Yeah, dude, definitely it was a quick turnaround. Because I think the first case of the COVID-19 virus in the United States, it was in Washington. So I think that was February. If we could somehow pull that up, fact check me. But I would say I think it was in February, right? So I think that was the first reported case in the United States. And that's when everyone was kind of, there was a bit of tension on a federal level. But someone, just as a student, I didn't think this is something that was going to affect me. So fast forward literally a month later in March, when we have campus closures, chancellors, Wilcox is sending out emails hey, we're going to have campus closures because of COVID-19. I kind of realized okay, this is something that is serious, and how is this going to affect us, right? Because again, as an RA, I kind of dealt with a lot of move outs, so they were kind of abrupt. So there was a lot of first years moving out, and I think for me that was something that was a bit shocking. Oh shoot, everyone's actually moving out.
Yeah. And
this is something to take serious. But the response for that, I would say, in terms of a campus-wide response, there hasn't really been any. The only response to the virus itself is let's close campus. Campus being closed, student and workers are no longer working, which is something we could touch base on in a couple of minutes. But yeah, so again, it was a quick turnaround, and everyone just moved out from the residential halls. And I think for me that was really compelling. Oh shoot.
How would you say your college experience, bro? How do you feel it has changed throughout this time?
Dude, okay. I think, and a lot of people that'll be watching this, I think could definitely attest to this. UCR, of course, arguably, it's a commuter school, right? But I would say for those that
You think we're a commuter school?
I would say we are. Low-key.
I don't think we're a commuter school.
Really?
Bro.
Why is that?
I feel like a lot of people dorm, like majority of people know that I personally know lives around campus, and I would say you would say the same, right? I say 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 people I know that commutes.
Really? Well, okay.
Well, I don't know the exact stats, but
okay. Well, if we could pull that up, but I would say that I think there's a fine line, right? And I think there's a lot of confusion, even from me. Like, what makes a commuter student? Is a commuter student someone that doesn't live on campus, or is it, and let's say has like a room a mile or two from campus, or is it someone that probably lives in another city or lives in the same city with their parents or guardians? Like, what's
I would say what's
the line right there?
I would say you're a commuter if you live with your parents, and you're at least 15 minutes away.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I kind of have issues with though, because it's subjective. I don't think there is like there isn't an agreement between you, myself, or everyone that's like this is what a commuter is.
So would you consider me a commuter?
Look,
if I live like
I would
like
say
2 minutes
okay.
away
I would say
from off campus apart?
I would say if you live that goes more so to the question at hand, like what makes a commuter student. I would say because my outlook on what a commuter is let's say someone that lives with their parents or guardian, or let's say lives in a house by themselves, but is secluded from campus life. They're not as accessible to campus life as, let's say, myself that lives on campus, or let's say to you that lives like a mile or two away from campus. But so so if we're using the basis that students that live with like their parents or guardians, if that's the definition that we're going to use of what is a commuter, then I would say UCR is a commuter school.
Fair. You know what? Like, I guess we can agree to disagree, so we can kind of keep it pushing on the topic.
No, 100%. But again, that's something that I've always questioned. Like, where's the fine line? And if anyone that's like tuning in is able to kind of just set the ground and be like, hey, this is what a commuter student is, that'd be greatly appreciated. But I would say we definitely got to jot that down and see like what that is. But
back to like the college experience.
But back to the college experience. Back to the college experience. I would say the way like the COVID-19 virus like affected my college experience. Again, campus closures. I have 2 jobs on campus, right? I work within like the student government office, which we're actually in, and then I'm an RA for AI for those that are from UCR that are watching. But yeah, so going back to the move-outs that I kind of touched on earlier, I would say roughly for AI at least, I would say roughly 600 students moved out. So that's a large amount of students that just moved out from the residence hall. So as an RA, and of course that's my job, a student worker, and that would fall under the umbrella of like my college experience. I would say that impacted my work because I'm no longer able to work with these students, right? I'm not able to provide the mentorship. I'm not able to program and things of that sort, right? That fall with the RA role. So I would say that definitely impacted like how I navigate my workspace. Although like I still have the role of an RA, it's just not the same, right? Because in my hall, I believe including myself, there's three residents, right? So, and of course with like the whole social distancing thing that's been implemented, no one's like aside from this, and just as a side note, me and Will have we've been in contact before the whole quarantine thing got implemented. So if there's any concerns of like where's the 6 feet, we are not social distancing.
Yeah.
If we've had it, we've had it because we've been in contact for weeks. But anyways, I would say definitely it's impacted my workspace. In terms of like one thing that a lot of college students, especially in UCR, that's really popular is like the party scene, right? Again, as a third year and you a second year, it's something that you and I like have indulged in. Like we're going out of these parties like weekly, and we're kind of like, and that kind of like fills this like not void, but more so of like this emptiness of like, oh, what do we do on a Friday night? Let's just go party. But the parties are no longer there, right? Because of the whole social distancing. People are paranoid, rightfully so, of like, I don't want to catch this virus. So I would say in terms of that and like the workspace, and of course, obviously not being able to see my friends on campus, not being able to go on campus and get Panda Express at the hub or go to the library or go to Orbach during that finals week, because it was week 10, right? So it's going to approach finals week. So the tradition of a Highlander of let's go to the library, Orbach, right? And of course, actually in one of the videos you made, something you outlined was like, oh, it's musty in there, which is true for those that know. So I would say in regards to my college life, the workspace was definitely affected. The party scene was affected. Academics were affected, right? Because, there's a transition to online, to, Zoom University, which is something we'll touch on later. But I would say those are kind of the key highlights. And I could definitely expand on those. But But what was your outlook though?
I don't know, man.
What's the main impact?
I think the most upsetting thing is that I wouldn't say it's academic wise because I feel like honestly online classes is not the worst, but in the sense that the whole college experience is kind of taken away, right? Like 112, essentially 112, right, of your whole college career is taken away. I feel like this is like a very valuable experience that anyone can get. Like simply just walking to class was such a blessing that no one really thought in the sense of that. But I feel like we're all going to come back a lot more grateful in the sense that like now I'm really going to value going to class.
Yeah.
I'm really going to value being able to go to the gym. I'm really going to value, being able to go out with my friends at night and just seeing whoever I want to see without the sense of fear. Because sure, people are still seeing other people, but the sense of fear and knowing that like, oh, I have to be back home because that's the right thing to do, it's just mind-blowing to me because I can't imagine when's the last time that America just got into a complete shutdown, right? I'm sure none of us can. The economy, no one's working, and just such a big switch, but unfortunately it happened. I would say it's unfortunate that it happened during our college career because this is something we can never really get back. Coming to, let's say you're in the workforce already, right? Yeah. You're probably going to be working there for, if you get a solid job, next 10, 20 years, hopefully. If not, if you want to switch it up. But it's a really big direct impact in my opinion, bro. And then I'm not too worried about the academics part, as I mentioned, but more about the whole experience, just being on campus and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, and we'll speak more so on the first week of Zoom University, as it's been coined. I don't know by who, but no, definitely. I would say in regards to like the academics, I would say a lot of students, whether it be like on social media or other like platforms, students are definitely like, oh, I take for granted Law 30. There's like an ongoing meme with like, what is her name?
Law 30, always being full.
With Arthur, DW. I think her name is DW, and she's like on the fence, and she's like, oh, like, I missed this or whatever. It's an ongoing meme on Twitter. I don't know if you're active on Twitter, but essentially, like, it'll be a meme of like, let's say for example.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
So for example,
see the one with the mirror, like they're looking at it.
So it'll be like Lot 30, and then like the next image, it'll be like DW from Arthur, and she's on the fence. And it's a bit symbolic.
I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So like something as simple as like parking at Lot 30. Or things of that sort, going to Orbach, as we mentioned earlier. I think students are now have taken these things for granted in years past, and students are now like, oh shoot, I wish I could like, go circles on Lot 30, just finding a parking spot.
Like it's truly a blessing in the sense that like that's the experience, right? Even the bad stuff and the good stuff, together. Yeah. But yeah, how do you feel about like the first week of closure? How did you feel exactly right away? No, I mean,
so
how did you feel? Yeah.
Or so like the first week of, let's say, like this quarter, or just last week?
No, just like when everything happened. Like personally, like I guess for me,
yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of happy at first because I was like, I didn't want to take finals. I remember one of my finals got moved to online, and I thought it was a blessing. I was like, this whole Corona thing probably won't last for more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I get a little break from the gym, from everything else, and we're back in action. But what week has it been?
Dude, I would say because it was week 10. I'd say we're going on to a month because I think this whole thing went down.
So like around
March.
4 weeks now.
Yeah, it was like March,
probably 5 weeks now, huh?
15? I think we're going on week 4, week 5. At this point, I've lost count. I know, like
that's crazy, bro.
I know, like something that like something people are doing. They'll be like, oh, day like 10 or like day 16 of quarantine, like let's say on Snapchat or whatever. I think I went up to like day 6, and after that I was like, this isn't fun anymore. Like kind of keeping track and like documenting, hey, this is what I'm doing on this day, because it gives you the chance to go back and be like, oh, this is what I was doing during the quarantine. But I would say we're entering like week 4, week 5, definitely a month into this whole quarantine. But again, going back to that topic, I would say in terms for me, like the first week so it was week 10, right? And I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday that the mass email went out, like saying everything's going to be closed campus wide, and we're going to transition online. So I think for me that first week, similar to you, I was like, oh, finals week,
right,
it's going to be online.
Cool.
It's going to be cake. Because there was definitely some classes that were giving me trouble. So I think for me, like I was excited, like it's gonna be online, it's gonna be much easier. Surprisingly, it was still the same difficulty. I mean, of course, you were still able, for professors that allowed exams to be open book, and for those that didn't, but you still had it open book. It was still a level of difficulty. I would say that was even equivalent to having it in class. It was definitely less stressful, but the transition and kind of like the learning curve of like, okay, I'm taking an exam online, and this is gonna like determine what grade I get, right? Because finals are like 30-40% at times, even 50 surprisingly in some classes. But I would say that first week I took my exams, and I was just like, okay, this is smooth. But when the announcement was sent that okay, like spring's also gonna be
that was upsetting,
online,
bro.
I was like,
imagine fall too.
It's likely.
I can't. You
It's
think
likely.
so?
Oh, I don't know. Okay, look.
I think. Hopefully everything blows over by the end of August. That's what I'm thinking about. I feel like. I mean, I don't know, man, but one thing I do want to kind of ask you about is that, well, personally for me, a lot of professors actually just made everybody get 100 on the final.
Yeah.
I think that's actually extremely fair. And the fact that, like, when the pandemic's going on, I want to be with my family. I want to feel safe. Why do I still have to worry about a final, right?
Yeah.
But when you put it in that macro perspective, you realize that how tiny the final actually is. Like, who actually cares about an A+ grade? Everybody's trying to avoid this virus.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Do you think professors should just get everybody A+s, or should finals still have, like, you still have to take a final?
Some sort of like merit. No, okay. I would say this is actually like an ongoing like conversation, if not debate, within the Twitter sphere, and other like platforms, like, let's say Reddit. But I would say, okay, so I would say there's a big divide. I would say there's some students that are like, yes, like we deserve to get like A's for this exam, because there's been like a disruption, the COVID-19 virus, and people are kind of figuring, and this is where we're speaking about winter quarter, right? Which was last quarter. So again, there's a group of students who are like, yes, like we should get all A's, because there's this disruption, COVID-19. I'm figuring out my housing. I moved out. Like,
and I think that's completely fair.
And
I think that's a strong argument.
I think it's fair, but there's definitely on the other side of the argument, there's students that are like, yes, I deserve an A. Like, there is disruption. However, I think there's students, especially at UCR, and every university, every institution, that are kind of more so like, okay, like we deserve A's. However, like, where's the merit? Like, did I earn this A? And you'd be surprised. I would say there's a lot of students that are extremely critical about their academics, and they're like, no, like, I didn't earn this A. And I think a lot of students that even lose sleep over it. But again, I think it's an ongoing conversation. Do I think like students deserve to get all A's, like when it comes to like moments like this? I don't know. But I would say when it comes to merit though, like, this also puts like another conversation at hand, or another question, sorry, of like, okay, like, what is the quality of education that students are attaining, right? And it's something that we'll speak about again when we touch base on like UC Zoom. But I would say a bunch of students that are on the other side of like the debate of like, no, did I earn this A? As much as I appreciate it, makes my life better. Like, did I earn this A? Like, students that actually value academics, I would say those students are more so like, yes, like this A on paper is good. Students that, let's say, are going to law school, med school, or just or pursuing higher education that of course want to have their GPA up. I would say they're more so like questioning, okay, like, what's the quality of education? Is this like a good quality of education? Am I just getting A's to get them, but there's no merit? I can't apply what I just learned to my day-to-day life.
We'll just agree to disagree on this one. How about that?
Now, 100%, we could get it.
So we get to push you for the podcast on the next topic. Let's see. How are you coping with the changes? Because personally, I feel like at least the first week or two, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of beat myself up over it. I was being lazy. Because I feel like the quarantine, I think we talked about this before, Luis, behind the scenes, is that it gives everybody an excuse, right? It's easy to come with an excuse now when you can't go outside, where everything's not operating and stuff like this. It's easy to be like, oh, I could just go watch Netflix all day. I don't have to work out anymore. And I feel like that was a mindset I had for the first week or two. But I remember like by week 3, I just start feeling bad about myself, so bad. And to be frank with you, I think one thing I really discovered is that home workouts honestly aren't that bad.
The home workouts.
and life still goes on. Like, for example, like I drive to the park my car. I got some good food. I have a book there. I have a Bose speaker.
What are you eating?
I'm not gonna lie. 2 days ago, I got some ramen. That was pretty nice. Yeah, I got some ramen.
You talking about like top ramen or like
top ramen?
What type of ramen is it? We talking about Cause ramen?
Like Cause ramen type of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the audience. If
hold on, real quick.
You gotta explain Cause ramen real quick.
Okay, so like Cause ramen, I don't even know where this is at.
It's in Riverside, no?
No, is it in Riverside? I don't know. I just know I type in, like, I Google Cause ramen, and then like I head out. But essentially, Cause ramen, I would say, is a UCR staple. So essentially, Cause ramen is just like literally a ramen spot, right? And it's open 24/7. I would say I would rate Cause ramen. Feel free to Google Cause ramen, like Riverside.
What would you rate it? I'm waiting for the rating.
I would rate it low key 7.5, if not like.
Okay, that's fair. I thought you were gonna.
I would say it's mediocre. It's definitely not the best. And let me tell you, I don't know if I told you this.
I thought you were gonna say a 9.
No. Well, okay, so like, no, definitely not a 9. I would say I could probably make something at home better from like the top ramen. That's like 9, 100%.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know about that one.
Really?
Now you're kind of disrespecting top. Now you're
disrespecting
Cause ramen a little too much.
Hey, shout out to Cause ramen real quick.
Yeah.
But no, actually, let's
let's go back to the topic though, right?
All right, let's go back.
So how would you feel like personally, like I got some ramen, I got a book there, some good music, did some reading, and I actually feel a lot better, so consistently working out, and I realized that a lot of times like it's just yourself making an excuse. But I kind of want to hear, how did you cope with it? What happened like between like week 1 and 2, I guess, and the difference to like right now, and we're over here making a podcast. Like, how was the transition for you?
Trying to document it all. Dude, I would say my transition definitely from, let's say, just finals week, right? Just to like put a standard of measurement there to where we are right now. Or no, let's just say the first week of which was 2 weeks ago, right? Bro, like my concept, I was telling you this earlier, like my grasp of time is just poor. But anyways, I would say that my transition was easy. Like I would say like my lifestyle in terms of what I would normally do in my day-to-day life is the same, aside from the gym, going to class in person, and then just hanging out with friends. So I would say those are the 3 main like functions of my day-to-day that like aren't the same anymore, right? Because I'm still I'm obviously still waking up, doing your homework, going to class. Now it's online. But I would say for me, it really didn't hit me probably until like spring break, when I was like, oh shoot, like there isn't no spring splash.
Yeah, there's no rush.
Yeah, there's no rush. So I think for me that's when it really hit me, like spring break, like oh shoot, like this is actually going down.
So you think you're coping with it well?
I would say yeah. I would say as of now I am. But one thing that I do want to say though is that my overall productivity, I would say compared to when campus was open, I would say has definitely decreased. And I think a lot of people can attest to this.
I mean, 100%, bro. I feel like just not being in person, like meeting up with people, it's just so hard to get things done. Like everyone's lazy over email. Yeah. Like there's no like red button over email either, right? Not that I know of. Is there?
No,
right?
I hope not.
I got some emails I have to reply
to. But no, I would say overall productivity, generally speaking, on myself, and then just even generally across UCR, I would say has definitely decreased. And it's something that we were speaking about earlier offline. But I would say a lot of people right now are more so they're validating their lack of productivity because of like the virus.
Yeah, it's like a perfect excuse, right? Like, if you can make an excuse for yourself, like your brain will do that. So it's kind of like, I feel like in the sense that you have to realize that I'm not going to make that excuse, because life goes on. Like someone else is improving. Sure, like don't get me wrong. There's days you can obviously relax and watch Netflix. I'm not going to be one of those like entrepreneurial guru be like, you got to work all day, like 24/7. If you don't come out this quarantine with a new skill, like if you don't, it's cool. But I feel like there still be a sense of like responsibility that you should hold yourself accountable. Yeah, I think that's a key thing. Yeah.
Well, I would say though, people should come out of this quarantine, because again, keep in mind, I think originally, the email that was sent out during week 10 of last quarter, I think it was until April. I forget the date exactly, but somewhere in April. Right? It was April 3rd, I think. That sounds correct. So I think we would have been out of the quarantine. But in light of like recent events and like the lack of people actually practicing social distancing, I would say that that caused like the extension, right, of the campus closure. So it's going to be, I think, now June 19th. Until campus is open, but I'm confident it's going to get extended, right? And the reason being,
I'm confident too. Bro.
And the reason being is because, of course, like right now we're in like the containment phase, right? I would say a lot of people currently haven't been tested. I haven't been tested, and again, like some of the symptoms is literally the common code, right? You have like you're coughing, you're sneezing,
and some people don't even get symptoms.
Some people have allergies, right? So again, I would say like we're in the containment phase. And we still have to move forward to getting people tested, and then after that, okay, now how do we distribute this vaccination? So I would say the timeline for all of that, and of course, I'm no CDC expert or anything. I'm not getting information from them, but just I would say from a perspective that's rational, I would say the timeline for that just doesn't make sense. Like people, first of all, aren't being contained. We still need to get tested, and then we still need to distribute this vaccination. So I would say if we were to receive an email somewhere between summer, which, by the way, summer session is now officially online through Zoom. So if we were to get an email, let's say somewhere June or July 4th, just at the standard, I would say I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, fall quarters moved to online. No, I'd be like, damn.
I feel like it's just too much for the government to drop it all at once. Imagine like if since like March, I guess that's when quarantine started, right?
Wait, so are you opposed? Are you opposed to like the idea of like it being extended or
no? I feel like it should definitely extend it.
No. What's the stance that? Are you saying?
I think it should definitely get extended. I mean, like, it really depends, right? Like, I'm not a medical expert, but I feel like in the sense that like the government can't just say, "Oh, next 5 months we're in quarantine." Imagine like how mad everybody will be.
Yeah.
They'll be like everyone's gonna flip out. So they kind of slowly increase it month by month, and I think that's definitely a really smart move, right? Human nature, like people can't take knowing that, oh, next thing I know, there's 5 more months I gotta wait. They can wait an extra month, but dropping 5 months is just too much. But I guess moving on to the next topic, like how has your experience, I guess, been with like, I guess many shall say, UC Zoom.
UC
Zoom, yeah.
No, I would say, okay, like initially, like I was skeptical of like online classes, especially since we're paying like thousands of dollars when it comes to like tuition. And I could only imagine what the state is for students that are out of state. I don't know if there's like, let's say, some sort of adjustment that was made to their tuition. But, you know, one can only imagine if they're still paying the same amount and still getting the same quality of education, but not in California, specifically Riverside. But I would say the first week was definitely off. Seeing as how the first week I was just like in my room the entire time.
Yeah.
I didn't even know when I had class. Like I put it on my calendar. And some of the classes, for some, if you are watching and you're at UCR, like again, like the classes, some that I have aren't even live through Zoom. So some of the classes are already pre-recorded.
No, I want to bring that up. Is that for my econ class? I'm not going to lie to you. I have not been to lecture for 2 weeks. I have not watched anything.
Wait, are those like pre-recorded?
They're recorded, and the discussion was recorded as well. So what happened was that I logged on at 6 p.m. because I checked my schedule.
Is that when the class starts, or
that's when my discussion starts?
when does the class start? The lecture?
I don't know.
You might have to pull that up.
Nah, I don't know. The reason is that everything was recorded already, so I knew that. But I never really watched it. But I logged on at 6 p.m. and my TA was like, "Oh no, from now on all discussions are at 4 p.m. because I don't want to do multiple discussions in a row." And I was like, "There's no way." So and he's like, "If you can't make the time, it's okay. I'm gonna record them and post them. So attendance is not mandatory."
Okay.
And I feel like online classes just been so hard to be disciplined in the sense when everything's non-mandatory, right? There's no like external pressure at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's also been a concern of mine too, because again, like there is no like incentive to like go to class aside from just getting the material live, because it's going to be recorded anyways, right? But what if there's like a conflict? Let's say you have another lecture at 4, but you want to attend your discussion, but it's moved to 4 now, right? So I would say there's a lot of confusion, and it's definitely not linear the way every professor and TA at UCR is conducting like their classes. Because some are moving them at different times, and you know that may cause like a conflict or things of that sort. But yeah, again, you know, one of the things that you mentioned earlier definitely resonated with me. Like I would say that first week I was just unmotivated. Yeah, I woke up to class. I think one of my classes, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday course, I think it's a social operative. It starts at 8:30, but the class is pre-recorded. So like, I just don't wake up for that class, right? Because like, there is no like live lecture. So for me, like I kind of have to discipline myself and make class time at a separate time that I would have normally made for 8:30, right? I think it's from 8:30 to 9:20. So if there was no like campus closure, I would wake up and go to class, and like that allotted time that was scheduled for my course, my course, I would have like already gotten the information.
No, definitely, and I feel like this, like, let's say this, if this does extend to fall quarter, in my opinion, would be a really big hit on the first years.
Ooh.
Because the reason being is that actually I just made a Q&A video recently talking about like what's the most important thing to college, and I think the one thing I mentioned is like discipline, right? Since you don't have that external motivation of your parents or whatever the motivation is, since you're on your own now, in the sense that like with everything's online, so there's no motivation for going to class through that through attendance already. Mm-hmm. And secondly, you can be like, oh, I can always watch the recording later on, and most importantly, you're kind of new to this environment, and the first experience is online. I think that's gonna really severely impact the experiences and the learning habits of the first years.
Yeah, no, definitely a bad introduction. And I would say even touching base on the current freshmen, right? I would say a lot of them were kind of ripped of their like introduction to what college is, right?
And even orientation is gone. I remember I was on the page scrolling. All of them were just so. Orientation was a big experience for me. Orientation
for the summer, is that being scrapped or?
Yeah, like I mean, campus is closed. You think they can have? I mean, I don't know if they're gonna
actually. I didn't really take that into consideration.
Yeah, that was a big part.
So how
for
are they
me.
gonna just online?
I heard they might do online. That's the word around
town.
I
actually didn't know about that. But so
unfortunately the recording stopped recording. So we're just gonna go on to the next topic, and hopefully the transition is smooth. So Luis, for you, would you say online classes is effective? Would you say it's easier, more challenging? How would you say? What's your opinion about UC Zoom?
Like UC Zoom, I would say like all in all, I would say it's case by case. I would say it's really up to each individual. Like if you have a good attention span, if you're disciplined, if you have good work ethic, if you have the drive to learn. Because I know, again, for that first week, some of my courses, like I would have like the Zoom in the background, have my AirPods in so I could like listen, and I'm just laying down in bed. I'm just on my phone, just on social media.
Yeah.
And that's something I normally wouldn't do in class, right? And that's more so because the culture and the setting is different. Like you're in class and you're supposed to like respect like the person that's lecturing, right? In contrast to like Zoom, you have your mic off on mute, and then you have your camera off, right?
Yeah.
So you're just there. So the professor has no idea what you're doing, what you're like engaging in, any activities, right?
No, yeah.
So I would say for me, like that itself, there's definitely been a lack of discipline on my end, and I'm confident a lot of students too. And they're just like, like I'll just like brush it off, or like, oh, I'll watch this recording, right? But one thing that I do actually want to highlight though, is kind of like these Zoom hackers, bro. Have you had any classes or like what's up?
No, I have not actually, fortunately. But I have seen like those Twitter videos where there was a African American professor. I can't remember his or her name.
Yeah.
But people were actually using the N-word slur, like very rude stuff, and like students were able to find out like how to draw like different shapes, different shapes on the lectures, and it's very like
shapes.
unappealing in a way. But in my opinion, like I think those people just kind of lack confidence. Like you really got to disrupt the lecture to be able to.
I think okay.
I feel like there's a sense of insecurity.
Are you familiar with the Noke Boys?
No, what's that?
Noke Boys? Okay. So essentially, like Noke Boys, they're like, I think they're really big on YouTube. They have like 2 million subscribers, but essentially, like the rise to stardom and fame is just like pranks. So I think they're like in their mid-20s, if not late. So like again, and
So
anyways,
what kind of pranks do they make?
so essentially, what they'll be doing is again, it's entertaining, but definitely it disrupts like your learning, right? So essentially, what they'll do is I think on their story or whatever platform they use, they'll like post like, hey, like send us like your meeting ID on Zoom, and essentially they'll bomb it. So like let's say like I'm in a class and I'm like, oh, I just saw like Milk Boys post on their Instagram story, so I'll like swipe up and be like, oh, 01, and then whatever the code is, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll like join like the call. Because most times like there isn't a password, or if there is, I'll also relay that information to them, and then they'll join, and then they'll just.
What are they called again? Milk Boys?
Noke.
Okay.
Noke Boys. So essentially, like once they're in the call, they'll have their camera on. They'll unmute themselves, and then they just like wreak havoc. They're just saying.
I think I see.
Yeah.
People on
So they'll,
Instagram.
So they'll
Like,
do
just
like
yelling.
Yeah, they'll just be yelling. But they don't say anything that's like out of pocket. But they'll definitely they're just disrupting the class. They're like yelling. The professor's like, oh, are you in this class? Things of that sort. I haven't experienced that, but like again, like on Twitter, some people that do attend UCR, like I've seen things of that sort, like, oh, like what's going on, like why, like the audacity of people, like there's a lack of respect, things of that sort. So again, I haven't experienced that, and that's actually something I didn't get to ask you. But
how I would see is that like pranks are great unless you're not affecting other people. But when you join these lectures, there's actually students who are trying to learn, who are paying for this education, and you're over here disrupting them. And that's not okay, because I'm sure if you see someone, well, anyone, going to like a 300 people lecture and over here screaming and disrupting lecture and making a whole scene, if they post that, I'm sure they'll get a lot of backlash in the sense that like these people are trying to learn, but suddenly everything's online, everyone's okay with it. I don't agree with it, but I guess I don't think they're as bad as those other Zoom hackers in the sense that like at least they're able to show their face. A lot of times these Zoom hackers don't even have the audacity to show their face, and they're straight up just like internet trolls, right?
Yeah,
like
literally.
If you want to do something, at least be able to show your face and be like, oh yeah, that's me, I did it. If you want to hate on me, you can hate on me too, so people can not get back at you in a sense, but at least know who's responsible for it. But overall, I think it's a disservice to the whole student in the class.
You think some of these people, of course, like Nelk Boys, they do it for entertainment. Like this is their livelihood, right? If you like pull up their like YouTube channel, they have like millions of like views off these videos.
Yeah.
They just go viral. But I would say people like them, which again, it's class entertainment, right? I
mean, it's definitely entertaining. I
it's
see one of them. Like,
like
I watched the whole thing. I'm guilty of it.
I'll get Chipotle, and I'm just like, yeah, this is pretty.
And I thought it was,
but because if I was in a course where they're doing like a prank like that, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I'm trying to learn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But just being on the other side of it, and more so just like as a spectator, through like the YouTube video, it's funny, right? But all in all, like I would say some people in lecture, like let's say at any university, but like those at UCR that do that and don't do it with the intent of like, oh, I'm gonna record this and put it on a YouTube video, right? Because I'm known for like being a prankster. They do it, it's a malicious intent of like I'm gonna post this, I'm gonna draw this, I'm gonna type in the chat like things that are derogatory.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what it's fueled by. I think some people probably just do it for like clout, like, oh, let me post this, and then let me put it on my Snapchat story, and like
I don't even think people post it, bro. I think just sense of validation or attention, right? All of a sudden, let's say someone who doesn't get much attention in life. Well, I don't know, I don't know the motive behind it. I'm not gonna speak upon that, but I think a lot of times it is for attention. For some people, is that, oh, if I do this, 300 people are gonna be looking at me now, and I get the attention I want, I get the validation I want, I feel cool. You can get attention with two ways, right? Either being really successful, or you can be a really bad criminal. There's two ways of getting famous. And if you can't do it one way or another, oftentimes people seek out the other way of doing like, criminal activities to fill that void, the emptiness that they're having with that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen, again, I haven't been in courses where there's been like, I think it's been coined as like Zoom bombing I think it's like Zoom bombing. But I haven't been to any lectures like that. But definitely, like, again, from what I've seen from videos or from what I've seen even on my social media, like mutual friends that we have like posting like their reaction of like, oh wow, how would someone dare do that? I would say it's fueled more so. I feel like people just find it humorous, like, oh, let me just troll and like disrupt this, right? This being like the lecture.
Yeah. I guess humor is definitely a part of it as well, right? Just being funny. So maybe.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you do it, you record it, send it to your friends. Your friends are like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that.
But you're doing that for validation, right? Yeah. Now you're the funny guy, and you feel good about yourself.
I would say it's even ego boosting. I would say sometimes people are like,
you feel powerful.
People are like,
yeah, I did that. I changed the whole lecture. Everyone's attention's on me now.
But it's disruptive though, right? So again, we definitely don't condone anyone doing like any of these activities.
Definitely not, yeah.
Don't encourage anyone to do it because again, like everyone's already going through like their own like things, right? Like people have like different. There's a lot of disparities, right? Like financial disparities, and people probably like are even struggling to like.
It's a tough transition.
It's a difficult transition. So people are probably struggling to even keep up when it comes to like classes being transitioned online. So I would say them probably like having to deal with things at the household, like maybe they have like a disconnect with their parents, right? And they're forced to go back home because of like the virus. Now they have to deal with this, right? So I feel like that was more so a specific case, but it's just things like that, right? I think a lot of people would be frustrated from things like this, right? And then I've seen it, like people go to Twitter, they tweet like, why would he do this? Like, I'm just trying to learn, so I would say like, sometimes like people may be having like different things going on in their lives that may be like impacting them negatively and them being able to like attain like a good quality of education. So when they just have like Zoom bombers like coming in and already like making their safe space or a space that they could kind of like escape from and kind of like learn, I think that's what kind of makes students frustrated.
I think it's definitely like slowed down a little bit. I think it was a trend at the time, and it was funny for a while. So good to see that it has slowed down, so more students are able to effectively learn, especially in tough times like this.
Yeah. What do you think is like the next step though? Like, because I know for like Zoom, and by next step mean like what is it like next step to like stop like these like Zoom bombers? Because I know there's been people being like professors, TAs that have like resorted to, okay, let me just stop Zoom and just make this like pre-recorded, right? Which goes back to the conversation we had earlier of like the quality of education.
I think it really slowed down. I feel like in the sense that like one of my professors at least is able to mute everybody in the group. Mm-hmm. If you strictly just mute everybody, every time someone says something weird, you mute them, and then you realize, oh, this guy's saying weird things, I'll just kick him out. I feel like a lot of times it's kind of like with professors with a disconnect with technology, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening yet. It's something new, so it's easy to access it.
Yeah.
But if you're able to kind of just mute the whole class, teacher lectures when there's questions, allow questions, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's a troll, I'll kick him out. If not, I'll only allow, if let's say the whole class is just messing around, I'll only allow the chat, or I'll just mute the chat. You can only privately message me something. So you can just kind of take these things away. Let's say if a student really wants to learn, you can email me, and we can have a one-on-one session. Mm-hmm. And I think that with the results of that, I don't see how there's a lot more Zoom hackers. I think that's the main reason that has slowed down as well. Mm-hmm. It's harder now since professors are finding ways to stop these Zoom hackers.
Okay. And then just to like end on this note, and it's something that we actually didn't get like the opportunity to like settle, like, because I think we disagreed on two topics, but I'm just itching to find out, like, do you think moving forward, like, this is gonna like disrupt like the quality of education students are able to attain? Like, do you think Zoom University is a foot forward, or do you think students are not going to be able to learn what they need to learn. They're just going to, let's say, and the reality is like some students will cheat, right? There's like definitely loopholes like exams. It's online, right? Let's say like group exams, things of that sort. But, just using that as an example, like what do you think moving forward is like the quality of education students are going to be able to attain? Do you think it's going to be like the same standard that UCR has always been able to provide? Or do you think like in light of this whole COVID-19 thing, like students are just going to like get a degree and just be like, like I kind of missed out on a whole quarter and I just like didn't learn anything?
I feel like if we only miss out on fall, spring quarter, obviously it's not good, but it's not the worst. I feel like missing out on fall quarter will be something a lot bigger because it's a lot of students' first time experience in college, right? As I mentioned before. But I really don't like online classes too. I think it's been okay for me so far, but it's the best we got. I feel like if it was an easy problem, right, it would have been solved already. But obviously, there's no perfect solution, and this is the best solution we have. And if someone can potentially come up, in the audience, if you think there's a better solution to online class, feel free to let us know in the comment section down below. I think the only other solution is just completely stopping operations, right? What do you think? What do you propose? I guess stopping operation, push everything back 1 year, everyone because of a fifth year.
It's kind of okay. It's kind of funny though because like I forget who, but I had jokingly said that and it goes back to the kind of the first conversation we had when we started of like the college experience, right? Because I would say specifically like the seniors, right? It's a bit rough for them because this is the last quarter, and you can't really postpone like your degree attainment. Like you're gonna graduate, right? Or those that had the intent to graduate like this spring quarter. But I would say again, as a third year, like I've even like thought of like, what if I just like don't register for fall and kind of just have like a gap year, and it's more so I could have like this college experience. Well, that's more so what I've contemplated, but is that like the thing to do? No, because I would say right now this is like the best time to be productive and get your education. So again, like if there's like some instances where like let's say like you're not able to like have this college experience, be with your friends, go out late at nights and things of that sort, I would say like I don't know. I would say it's case by case, but I definitely think right now it's like staying in class. Would I propose like a gap year and just like close all university operations? No. Because again, like it's a public institution, right? So I would say like there would definitely be big repercussions if the university, which I'm confident it wouldn't even contemplate just closing.
They would
and
not like.
I mean, it's a
staff.
business.
You gotta pay the staff.
It's a staff.
You got to keep it going.
Yeah, and the reality is, the University of California is just a big business, right? So if you don't have students that are paying tuition and paying like the campus fees, then the campus isn't going to be able to operate. So something as simple as having it, or the transition of having it online, is what is allowing the university to kind of have this loophole of like, like you still owe us $15,000, which is actually something I want to bring up.
Yeah, what do you think about the fees? I guess
the fees.
Go into the fees. Do you
controversial
think students
fees
should still be paying full fees?
The controversial fees. Okay, look, I would say it's really difficult, right? Because I see both like sides of the argument, right? Argument coming from the students and the argument coming from campus administration. And of course, a bunch of students are saying, "Hey, like, okay." So I would say the tuition and the cost of like attendance in terms of like what like dollar for dollar, what does it cost for me to get my like education and be enrolled in these classes? I think students are being rational and be like, okay, like that I am willing to pay. I'm willing to pay the amount that it takes for me to be enrolled in the University of California, Riverside. But when it comes to things like, let's say, I think the biggest fee is the SRC fee, which I actually don't know off tops, but I think that's the biggest fee. That's on your account balance, right? So I would say a lot of students are kind of pushing and kind of like advocating for themselves and other students, like, hey, like
to get the fees back.
Can we get refunded these fees? Like the UCR is like stealing our fees, which I completely agree, right? Like I would say like there should be some attempt, which I'm confident there is, from campus admin of like, okay, how can we somehow like reimburse students that aren't taking full advantage of these resources, right? Like the SRC being one.
Students are getting paid, like students workers are getting paid,
which is something.
That's what the fees goes
student
to,
workers,
right?
Yeah. But again,
so what's the counter argument then, right?
Because the counter argument from campus admin, which I would say is a fair one, questionable, but fair nonetheless, is that hey, like it costs money to have things operate on campus, right? Like although students aren't like finding utility in any of these items because they're not using them, it still costs money to like run the lights. It still costs money to even have the space there, right? So I would say when it comes to like, let's say like the SRC, although it's
Yeah.
a big one, I don't know if it could be cut. I mean, again, like I'm not part of like
Yeah,
conversations
we don't know
as a
don't-
student of like what is like the reasoning as to why this is
Yeah.
still being enforced. However, I'm confident that like when it comes to like campus operations, like it still costs money to operate these things, right? Like the SRC, like you still have to pay.
But I,
like
I
the
guess
university has to pay to operate that, right?
I would challenge you in the sense that like, well, if they're taking 1,500, then why do you need the whole 1,500 now? If you can operate with the student workers, with the lights completely on, with the cleaning, because obviously cleaning is something you don't
Yeah.
need. Off the top of my head, I'm not the most informed on this topic as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
Then we should get a partial refund, right?
Yeah.
Let's say we only got to pay for the rent of the SRC.
Mhm.
We only got to pay for
Yeah.
I don't know, keeping the parts of the SRC, the lights on, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what the main students are arguing about is that I don't need the full refund,
Yeah.
but you gotta give me part of it. Since if you're charging me the full price when everything's running, why can't you give me some of the money back? But I would guess in the sense of like siding with the campus admin in the sense that like everything happens so fast. That's probably one of the least of the
Yeah.
concerns right now, right? I want to care about making sure the students are safe. Zoom is going well, classes are still going, and refunding is probably not on top of the priority list. So I wouldn't blame them, but I do, personally from my side, I feel like there should be like a partial refund at least.
Yeah. No, like again, I'm definitely for like the student like fee reimbursement.
Yeah.
To whatever we can, but again, I like to touch base on one thing you had just said was this kind of just came out of the blue, right? Like one thing that students should take into consideration, like it's budgeting, right? Like when it comes to like the fiscal year.
Luis, so kind of continuing on with the whole campus admin, do you think, I guess you were talking about the SRC, leaving the lights on with the utilities and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and the refund. What's your intake on it?
Well, we kind of touched base on it, but definitely I would say all in all, like campus admin is definitely fighting and trying to make sure like students are able to like get like a partial reimbursement. But I think definitely right now it's difficult, right? Because again, like it costs to operate things, and I'm confident. I don't know if the SRC is privatized. Definitely don't fact check me on that. But I think we should definitely investigate on that. But if it is privatized, like there's still like money that's being paid towards that, right? So I would say definitely moving forward, like campus admin is trying to like make sure we get reimbursed, but as of now, I don't know where that stands. But I think we'll find out like in the coming months, if not weeks, bro.
Yeah, but overall, this kind of wraps up for our just kind of wraps up for the What's Up podcast for this episode today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. My Instagram is I am William Wang. If you guys want to shoot me a follow, I give everybody a follow back and answering any questions y'all have for UCR.
The follow back, eh? But again, it was definitely a pleasure to actually have this podcast. It was definitely a project that myself and Will Wang had been thinking of actually putting on. So the fact that this is coming in fruition, it definitely fills me with joy. But just that shameless plug, Luis OTUS, LUIS OTUS, all platforms except Snapchat. Feel free to hit me a follow, and I'll definitely hit you with the follow back. So if I'd really appreciate that. But again, that'll be all that we have today for the What's Up podcast. Hopefully y'all can join us on the next episode, and we'll definitely have some more guests and some more entertainment for you all to tune in and kind of see what is in the mind of myself and Will Wang. But again, if you have anything else.
That's perfect. Thank you all so much for tuning in today.
Peace.
Hope you have a good one.